This demonstration will teach you how to use the AutoCAD commands to make an isometric drawing. Now this is a 2D drawing that looks 3D. And to start off, if I was going to create my ISO piping assignment, before I changed it to the ISO mode, I would use the regular AutoCAD mode to create an area using the rectangle command. Pick my first point, left click, go ahead and click on the command option Dimensions, and this rectangle is going to be 16.25 enter by 10.25. If you remember, this is the inside area of our title B title block, B-size title block. So here is our rectangle. I can left click to drop it in this location. And now I am going to change the AutoCAD so that it will draw in isometric mode instead of just the 2D regular flat mode. To do this, and this is the most important part of this isometric drawing, you need to get into your drafting settings. You can do that by typing DS and enter on the command line, and it will bring up your drafting settings. Or you can right click on your buttons down here on the status bar and then left click on settings, and that will also bring up your drafting settings. Now here is my grid snap, and regularly it is the rectangular snap, and that draws everything on a flat plane. But if I go ahead and click on this isometric snap, what you can notice is that the numbers change, and as soon as I hit OK, my cursor is going to change, as well as the grid spacing in the background. I'm going to click on the snaps on, because for the first part of my drawing I'm going to use the snaps, and the snaps is like a little magnet, almost like our object snaps, that helps us to click to different points in AutoCAD. So I click OK after turning on the snaps on and the grid on, and making sure that this is isometric snap has the dot next to it. Clicking OK, it changes my cursor and it changes the way that the grid looks. I'm going to zoom up into the grid just a little bit so that you can see me create an object. So to change the rotation of our cursor from the left plane, which it is currently on, I need to hit F5, changes it to the top plane and the right plane by hitting F5. You can start the line command, L, enter, and as soon as you start that command, you'll see my cursor jumping around to the different points on the grid. This is that snaps on, which is down here on the status bar. Second button from the left is the snap mode. The hotkey to turn it on and off is F9. To turn on and off the grid display is this key, third from the left, hotkey F7 to turn on and off the grid display. So with the line command active and my snaps on, I'm going to arbitrarily pick a point, left click, drag in two directions to this, two snaps to this left direction, left click again, drag my cursor. I'm going to go ahead and turn off ortho for right now, because with ortho mode off I could just use my snaps and it doesn't matter which orientation the cursor is on, if it's left, right, or top. So I'm going to take it in this direction, 1, 2 snaps, left click, come in this direction, 1, 2 snaps, left click, bring my cursor in this direction, 1, 2, and click again. If I hit enter to finish the command, I can go ahead and start the command again by hitting enter, pick a point, left click, drag down 2 snaps, left click, drag over 2 snaps, left click, up 2 snaps, left click, hit enter to finish the command, enter again to start the command, using my object snaps of endpoint, left click there again, down 2 units, left click, over 2 units, left click, hit enter to finish the command. So I have this box, or this cube, that I've created just using the line command and my snaps. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn off my snaps, and this time I am going to start the circle, but instead of using the circle command, what we have to do is use the ellipse command. So if I type EL and enter, I get a menu option of an iso circle. So to create a circle in an isometric mode, you're going to use the ellipse command and the command option of iso circle. I can left click on the iso circle, bring my cursor to the middle of this object, which I don't have if I don't turn back on my snaps. Turning back on my snaps, you can see that it snaps to the middle of the object here. Left click and drag away. Using my object snaps, I get the midpoint of the line. I can left click on that line and it creates this circle. You can continue to do this. Start the ellipse command, EL, enter, click on iso circle, left click. This time I'm going to create a iso circle on the top plane. If I left click there in the middle of the object and drag away, you notice that it's still on that right plane. If I hit F5, it rotates to the left plane, F5 again, and it rotates to the top plane, and I can go ahead and place that on the top plane using the object snaps to snap to the midpoint of the line. Left click. Once again, let's do that iso circle on the left plane, EL and enter. Find the snap, left click, drag away, excuse me, I did not pick my iso circle, I'm doing a regular ellipse. So to get out of that command, I hit escape, start it again, EL, enter, left click iso circle, find my snap to the center of this object or the plane, left click, drag away, F5, F5, and I can place it on the midpoint of the line, left click, and now I have a cube with some circles in it. To make a cylinder, what we are going to use is we're going to use the copy command, an existing iso circle, and our snaps. So I can go ahead and start the copy command, CO, and enter, or you can use the copy command right here. Select my object, left click, hit enter to say this is my object I would like. I'm going to pick the middle of the iso circle, left click there, and I'm going to drag in this direction. Now I'm dragging in this direction using the snaps to come along this plane. Now if you didn't want to use your snaps and you wanted to be more accurate, because see I'm still using my snaps, but notice how it's off in a different direction, I can turn on my ortho mode, which is hotkey F8 to turn on. Left click on that, and as I drag in the direction that I would like to take this, it will only go in the orthographic projection of the right plane. So coming in this direction, I can left click to drop that iso circle, hit enter to finish the command. Now I'm going to turn off my snaps, because the snaps will only pick the particular points on the grid. I am going to start the line command, come over to my object, and I want to get the quadrant points of the circle. Notice how I can't get that because it's not on. I can come down here to my object snaps, right click, left click on quadrant. Now as I float over this object, because this is in between the snap points, turning off the snaps will allow me to come to the quadrant. Left click on the quadrant, left click on the quadrant, hit enter, start the line command again by hitting enter, left click on a quadrant, left click on the quadrant, hit enter. Now if I visualize this cylinder, I need to trim out this information right here. Start the trim command, TR, enter. My default is select all, so I'm going to hit enter to make everything a boundary. And I can left click on this line, left click on this line, left click on this arc, and then a line, left click, and I can erase everything else, so I hit escape to finish the command. Select those items, hit the delete button, and it deletes it out. Now text. For text, what we are going to use is we're going to use multi-line text, but to make it so that it lands on a particular plane, we need to change the rotation of the text as well as something called the oblique angle of the text. So let's start by clicking on the multi-line text here. Left click, starts our command. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put the top, label the top plane. So I left click my first point of the text. I'm going to drag away, but before I left click my second point, I'm going to come down here to rotation on the command line, left click on that, and if you take a look at the Mechanical Lecture 3, at the bottom it says text in isometric drawing. That gives you the rotation and the oblique angle for the different text. So if I look for the top plane, my rotation needs to be a positive 30 degrees. So I'm going to type 30 and enter. Now it's rotated my text box. I can left click again to finish the text box. I now get my cursor and I can type with caps lock on, TOP for top. Last thing I need to do is highlight it, come over here to the formatting area, and there is the oblique angle spinner right here. In here I need to type a negative 30 degrees, and once again this information is coming from the Mechanical Lecture 3 at the bottom of the page. Hit enter. Notice how my text goes to the top. I can go ahead and click on close the text editor, and here's my text. I can move it using the grip onto the top plane. Make sure it is on the text layer. Hit escape to drop the selection. To do more text on the right hand side, I'm going to start my text again, left click on the text, multi-line text, left click the first point of my text box, left click the menu option rotation. Now this one, on the right plane, it's a positive 30 rotation and a positive 30 oblique angle. So I type 30 for the rotation, enter. Pick my second point for my text box, left click, type right, R-I-G-H-T, highlight it, click the formatting drop down, and here it's going to be a positive 30 degrees. 30, hit enter, left click here to get out of the formatting area, left click again to close the editor. I'm going to move this down, and I'm going to use the command MA for the match properties command. I'm going to select this text. I'm going to select this, and all I want to do is change the layer, and this might change. No, it didn't change the orientation of the text. It just changed the layer. Hit enter to finish the command. This time I will change this to the text layer before I start my next left-hand text here. Start the multi-line text, left click on this point, drag away, click on rotation. Here on the bottom of our lecture notes it says this is a negative 30 and a rotation and a negative 30 oblique, negative 30. Hit enter. Left click to finish the text box, L-E-F-T, highlight it, formatting, oblique spinner here, we type negative 30, enter, left click to get out of the formatting, left click to close the editor. And you can move it over here in this area. Now if you look at the piping, all it pretty much is lines and also boxes and cylinders, so you should have all the information you need. As you're doing the valves, just to give you a little bit of help, if you go ahead and click the line command, you have your ortho on. Find the plane that you would like to use, F5. So I'm going to do a valve on the top plane. I can go ahead and left click on a point, drag in this direction, and just like I create a line typing information on the command line, I'm going to drag in this direction and type 0.50. If I hit enter, it makes a line that is that length. I am going to now hit enter to finish the command. I'm going to copy this just like I did my ISO circle down the line of the down the angle of the isometric drawing. So we do a copy command, left click on there, that's my objects, I hit enter, I pick the midpoint, and then I start dragging this direction. Now if it wasn't dragging in the correct direction, I could hit F5 and it would drag it in a different direction. F5, different direction. And this is happening because ortho is on. F5 once more, drag in this direction. I can go ahead and type 0.75 just for instance. Hit enter to finish the command. Now to create the valve, I can just connect my endpoints. So line, left click, endpoint, left click, enter. Enter again to start the command, line command. Left click on the endpoint, left click on the endpoint, hit enter. Now if your objects are too big or too small, you can always use the scale command. If you click on the scale command, left click, it says select your objects. I can select my objects here. Tell AutoCAD I'm done selecting objects by hitting enter. Pick a base point. This is an arbitrary point. I'll just use the midpoint so that it scales it uniformly. Now if I drag it out, you can see that it will get bigger or smaller depending on where the cursor is. You can also come over here to the command line and you can type a scale factor. So let's say I want this to be half size, I can do 0.5. This will make it half the size that it currently is. If I wanted it larger, or 2 times larger, I would do a whole number of 2. So since I want it half size, I could type 0.5, go ahead and hit enter, and it scales it down. So if your objects are too big for the drawing, you can go ahead and change it in that way by using the scale command. Last thing I want to show you is that tank sits on a pedestal, and all it is a series of ISO circles and lines, part of a box. So to create this cylinder sitting on a base or a tank support, I can start by copying this ISO circle back in this direction. Copy command, left click on the ISO circle, hit enter, find the center using my object snaps, left click, drag in this direction. Once again, if it's not dragging in the correct direction, you can hit F5 and it will change that direction. Left click there, hit enter to finish the command. Now I can draw a line in this area, left click here, drag it into my circle, left click to drop, enter to finish. Start the line command again, L, enter. This is the front plane of this, well, it's the right plane of the tank support. I'm trying to drag it straight down. Need to hit F5 because my ortho is on. I can drag it straight down, 0.5, and then I can drag it across so that it touches the tank. Hit enter. I want to trim it out a little bit. First let's put it on the correct layer. This is an object layer. Hit escape to drop the selection set. Here's my object layer. Trim, TR, enter. Enter selects all. And I can trim out this portion of it. I can go ahead and trim out this portion of it. I can trim out this part because the tank is, this is going to be the curve of the tank, and then trim out this part so the tank curves around under here and then disappears. The support disappears under the tank. Go ahead and use the line command, L, enter. Left click on this point, drag in this direction, F5 to change the different planes. Drag in this direction. Let's go ahead and just say 1 unit, 1, enter. Hit enter to finish the command. Now I can use the copy command. Copy, pick this line, enter, pick this point, left click, this point, left click, enter to finish, copy, this line, left click, enter, this point, left click, to this point, left click, and enter. Copy again, copy, pick this line, pick this point, pick the point right there where it touches the tank, where we trimmed it out. Hit enter to finish the command, and I'm going to copy this line over, or you can go ahead and just start the line command, pick this point to this point, hit enter, and then trim out the unwanted lines. TR, enter, enter to select everything, left click, and that creates the tank support. To create a circle or a cylinder within a cylinder, I can go ahead and start the ellipse command again, EL, enter, click on isocircle, pick the center point of this isocircle using my object snaps, left click, F5 to put it on the correct plane, F5 again, make the circle smaller, left click, copy command, pick the circle, left click, hit enter to say that's the object I want. Here's the center, left click, drag in this direction. Once again, F5 will change the different plane. Drag in this direction, left click to drop it, enter to finish the command. L, enter for line. Come over here to my quadrant, left click, quadrant, left click, enter to finish the command. Enter to start the line command, quadrant, left click, quadrant, enter, trim, TR, enter, select all, enter, left click on this part, and left click on this part, and now I have a smaller cylinder on top of a larger cylinder. And that is all the commands that you will need to know as you are creating that isopiping assignment.